Hello, my name is KROME, and this is Prospect Magazine TV, the international biker podcast that talk about good things and good folks, and we only wanted to inform and inspire. Today's guest is amazing. You know, it's funny because I always research a lot of motorcycle clubs, and this one here is on a whole nother level. Just been around since 2006. This is the First Nations Redrum MC, and it's not like the movie from The Shining. Trust me, it's not. These brothers are so organized and so beautiful. It's a First Nations motorcycle club, and I'm so proud that they would even take time to spend time with me and chat a little bit and chop it up about the MC world that we're all in. There, you know, it ranges from the leader of this group and the founder, his name is Cliff Matias. And let me tell you something of this man. He has done amazing things within First Nations, this First Nations motorcycle club. And like I say, 2006, they got about 20 chapters, I'm not sure, around America and even in Canada and Peterborough, which I ran into those guys, great guys I met at a bike show once. And I had to interview him. And like I say, I'm very privileged and humbled that he would take time for me, coming from Brooklyn, New York. Here's my man, Chris, and he's going to explain a little bit more about what his club is all about and what their mission statement is. Hey, Chris, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. How's it going?
Good, man. Hey, man, I want to thank you again and for coming on this podcast and talk about what you guys are doing, because you guys are doing amazing things. And like I said, I read your website, and I was like amused from it. And a lot of clubs can learn a lot of things from you guys. So tell me something. Brooklyn, a native New Yorker, and starting a motorcycle club. How did you get involved in this, and why did you want to start something like this?
Well, I come from a family of. My dad was the leader of a gang called the Zorros back in the 50s in New York City, when sort of like West Side Story, when Puerto Ricans had just come to New York, and there was a group of a neighborhood, a bunch of blocks that all the Puerto Ricans lived in, and it was like West Side Story, they couldn't correct, if you cross 57th Street, it was the Irish, and if you cross 72nd Street, it was the Italians. So, my dad, I sort of grew up in that life, even though my dad, became opened his own business and became, got himself out of the hood. But so, I sort of grew up with that. My brother was in motorcycle clubs, and so, I've been in the club life for a long time. I'm an ex-one percenter from back in the 80s, and I'm an old G, I'll be 60 in a couple of years, so I've been around this for a minute. And the Redrum, it was Redrum Crew before, and basically, we were, I wouldn't say, sort of more in the outlaw MC world than we were, absolutely not what we were now. And I had a vision, I've always been, involved in my indigenous ancestry and, my life, through my mom's side, and also my dad, being Puerto Rican and also connected to his Taino roots, And so, I know always been in my indigenous, involved in my indigenous ancestry, as well as, my Latinx ancestry too. And like a vision came to me, man. It just came to me about creating the idea of the club. And I always looked, as a one percenter, and no knocking the lifestyle, because I had great fun, in the 1% world. But, I always thought about like, could I take most of these guys home to meet my mom? Most of my brother, and I'd be like, my mom wouldn't approve, man. God rest her soul. But when I was in that, so I always thought about, like, there was always these strong guys in the motorcycle world. I always thought, man, like, how do you get this dude? Like, this guy is a really successful businessman, and this guy. I remember when we have a member that bounced in one of the clubs here in New York, in a biker bar, and every single club used to ask this dude, he was like an outstanding guy in the community, like a big dude, handled his business, and he just had no interest in being in the MC world. And I always thought, man, like, how could I get this guy who every single club has asked and respect, like, what would attract him to an MC? And so, I had this vision, and I woke up and I drew the new patch and at that time we had 2 chapters of Redrum, and one chapter just quit. Like the whole club quit. You know, they were like, "We ain't down with this, man. What are you talking about? Peace and love and the mission of brothers coming together and all this." They were like, "Man, like later for that, you know," and they left. And they went on to, you know, join other 1% and MCs. And it was like starting from scratch, you know. So that was really, you know, what the mission was. It was always about, you know, it came about how do you care for your community? How can you be, you know, what is a warrior? You know, what is a true warrior? You know, like, you know, when you even, you know, break down what a samurai is or what a ninja is, when you break down, when you go into those perspectives, man, it has very little to do with being, you know, being what we consider today gangster, about being, you know, like it has very little to do with that. It has to do with serving your community, about caring for the people, you know. We often go to many sacred sites and a lot of like Standing Rock, and we just came from Oak Flats and we were up in Mauna Kea, and these are places where indigenous people are standing up for the land. These are encampments where the people, and the first thing we do when we get there is like, how do we take care of the, you know, people expect us to get there, you know, and standing like, all right, we're here, man, we're cleaning up trash, we're feeding the people, making sure that everyone's taken care of, because really that's what a warrior does first. You know, that's the first thing a warrior does.
Well, you know, one thing is too, you hit so many great points about this whole motorcycle MC world, because a lot of these guys get in this thing for the whole tough element. Now, what confuses me is they 40 years old and all of a sudden they want to be tough. That they want to put a patch on. That's the weirdest shit. You've never been in a fist fight in your life, but now you're 40 years old, when your back is hurting, now you're a tough guy. Like, what the hell is that?
I see it all the time. And, you know, as growing up in the streets of Brooklyn, man, listen, I've been, you know, I always have my motto. I've been chopped with a sword. You know, I've been stabbed twice. You know, I've been shot. I've been bashed with baseball bats. You know, and this is all in my teens. You know, this was all before I was 20. You know what I'm saying? So,
like most of us.
This is before I was 20. So I'm like, you know what, man? Like, that's the least attractive thing to me. You know, like the least attractive thing. So, yeah, you know, it's true. I see these guys in their 40s and 50s, and they, you know, they missed it. You know, I'm like, bro, they missed the boat, but they ain't got the body for it, man. And now they got house payments, they got children, and you know, they don't realize that you get jammed up in this, and all that goes away real quick.
What I was impressed with all of you guys, when I spoke to some of my friends, like I know a lot of bikers across Canada, and from the 1% world, we only have the 1% world here. That's all we have. We don't have any 99s, and like we're the only club here. My club is like yours. We here, and they join my club. I'm about no fuckery at all, and it's like just like you. You know, I have one of the guys who's one of my lawyers, and he rode a bike. I was thinking, how can I get this guy in my club? The same thing with you. I wanted normal guys, work every day with families in my club. Let's ride some motorcycles, have some barbecue, have some fun, and leave all that other fuckery to the guys who love that shit.
Yeah.
We're just doing what we do. And when I was reading your website and you didn't say you were 1% in affiliations, I thought that was amazing how you can go that far, and especially being the East Coast. You guys have a lot of bullies there who play this whole motorcycle thing to the T. And I was wondering, so how do you get more than California and the West Coast? And West Coast, California is like this. It's kind of like they love MCs and having fun. It's all about riding motorcycles. The weather's great. Out in the East and the Midwest, it's a little bit, the clubs there are really kind of about bullying, and want to know why. I was just wondering, to be that large, how did you get past all the, you know, the things that comes along with that?
Yeah, man, you know, listen, like I said, I know a lot. I know a lot of these cats because I've been in the game a long time, you know, and I've sat down in meetings and you know, the funny thing was when we went to Standing Rock, I got a message from quite possibly, you know, there's always debate who's the baddest motorcycle club, you know, in the state, in let's say United States.
Right.
You know, who's the baddest, but I would say that they probably are the baddest, you know, and just from history of what they've done. And I got a message when we were at Standing Rock from their international president, who was like, yo, I like what you guys are doing, man. Like he saw us at Standing Rock and he was like, yo, that's good shit.
Good,
Brief,
good.
brief message, real quick, just like good shit.
But
That's
you
what he said, you know, you know, we really put ourselves out on the line when we went there. I mean, I was, you know, I got a picture of the chalkboard, you know, that the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the you know, they had the leaders of the camps, you know, their arrest board, you know, who they were the leaders of all the different camps, even though it was a peaceful movement. And you know, my name was right up there, you know, as the leader of Redrum with the other leaders of the different, you know, indigenous camps that were going on there. So, you know, we were all targets, you know, so going out there really put a big target on us. And I know that they were wondering like what we were going to do when we went there, whether we were going to incite, you know, this peaceful camp. And, you know, the first thing we did was we fed people and cleaned up, you know?
Right. You know, it's funny because I was reading it. So you have to explain something, the 13.5%. I kind of wrote that.
There's no
I thought that was brilliant.
There's no percent.
Okay, 13 and a half.
Yeah, so I brought 13 and a half to the MC world. We officially share it with one other club. Another club kind of jacked it, whatever. But we officially share it with a race bike club that was also part of the growth of Redrum, which is Legion of Doom. And you know, that's our brother. There are, you know, our bros are race bike bros, you know.
Right.
You know, when I brought that idea, when I first introduced it to the MC world, it had never been used before. You know, for me, and people talk about that, what 13 and a half, it's the perspective mainly of Black, brown, and poor white folk here in America.
Right.
Because, you know, when we get arrested, you know, it's a wrap, man. You know, unless you got money for a lawyer, so, you know, it's one judge, 12 jurors, half a chance. It's half a chance, that's it.
Right.
You know, and that's real talk.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's real talk. So, you know, it's a conscious thing when we wear it. It's a conscious thing to remind us that, you know, and it's no knock on like I said, on the 1% world, on the outlaw perspective of this MC stuff. God bless him, man. Like I said, I was in that world. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in that world. Not the, you know, the other stuff, but just the fun, the brothers, the whole thing moving around. But you know, for me, it just wasn't, you know, where I wanted to be. But this, you know, this perspective is sort of like, yo, man, before you make that move, before you do something, think about that. One judge, 12 jurors, half a chance. Because if you're Black, brown, poor folk in the Americas, this ain't cut out for you, man.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
These odds are not in your favor.
Yeah.
And
Chris, you keep it real, man, because I think there's a lot of clubs in the U.S. need to be wearing that patch for any patch, because really, it's you just being real. I've always thought of that, but I didn't put a patch behind it. You know, I've talked to so many young guys about clubs, and brother, I come from that world you come from too. And then when I started as Gypsies, is, you know what? I'm older. I'm gonna have some grandkids. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm gonna have some grandkids, sis. I ain't got no time for fuckery. But I wanted to start something in Canada that brothers can identify with, that to be right together. We're all working guys. We know, and it's funny about people starting a club, and the first thing they do. First thing you do, you go see a dominant, right? Well, the first thing I did, I went to talk to the feds, because they're the dominant. I don't care what nobody says. The feds are the dominant. Then I went and talked to the dominant. I talked to the feds and said, look, had talked to the RMCP, and I said, look, this is what we're doing. We're a bunch of guys. If you need to run us all now, here's everybody's passport. Let's get this out of the way, because when you pulling us over, we're wearing our passports, we got shit to do. We got to go to work, and we can't be late. So let's get this out of the way right now. Then we talked to the dominant and told them we were here. And I preach that a lot to these young men who rap bikes and wear patches. Says, look, don't fucking get in trouble, man. Don't put your name in the system. Yeah. We're all Black bikers, and I'm telling you something, we're outlaws by default, because we're people of color.
Right.
You don't even got to have a patch on for law enforcement to hassle you. So
Yeah.
I preach what you preach every day, man. I'm a little bit older than you, and I've been through it, and I've done the 1% world, rode with those guys, hung out with them. I'm from Chicago originally, and I've been in Canada about 40 years, but I always kept my family in Chicago and Las Vegas, and I was always around the MC world, the outlaw world, because they kind of made sense to me because of their structure. To me, they have better structure than everything else. But then some outlaw clubs like to do outlaw shit, and that's fine too. But the thing is, I took that foundation, brought it in my club, because let me tell you something. You guys look like an outlaw club, you roll like a. That's not what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
The structure is like that. But
yeah, we got a good percent. There's a good percentage of guys in our club who are all ex outlaw bikers, and who have sometimes, in this MC world, sometimes you gotta put the reins on some of them dudes, because right away, they forget where they're at. And it's like, oh, hold on a second, man. You're gonna handle this in another way.
Exactly.
When you got 500 some odd heads that you gotta keep under wraps, all over the world. So it's kind of, but it works. It works. I mean, the funny thing was we had our national run in Sturgis. Like, I always say, listen, last year you got to take 2020 off the calendar. So whenever someone says last year, it really means 2019. There's no such thing as last year.
We didn't have it last year.
In 2018, we had our national run in Sturgis.
Right.
So we're at a gas station. A whole bunch of our guys, because we got a bunch of chapters of deaf dudes, all deaf.
Right.
Deaf guys, and we got a chapters of deaf. One of our deaf chapters got pulled over, which was funny shit. So they all got pulled over, like ATF and the cops pulled them all over. They don't know who. So they they showed that everything was cool. Let them go. So I pull into a gas station because I had gotten the call, and so I go to the gas station near where they were, and they come rolling in, and I want to find out what happened, blah blah blah. And so does the ATF. They roll in, they get out of the car, and so their head guy, ATF, Sturgis, ask somebody, whatever, and they're like, well, who's the leader? And they're like, well, I don't know who the leader is, but you could talk to this dude, he might be able to help you. So he comes up and he goes, let me ask you a question. Who the fuck are you guys? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, listen, man, you guys rolled into town, a few hundred of you, and we're wondering who the fuck you are. Like, you guys have been like, the way you conduct yourselves, how chill you guys are. Like, we had a video of you guys doing a prayer with smudging in a parking lot. Like, we've been watching you guys, and who the fuck are you, man? So, I told, I said, we Googled you, but, we never believe anything we see online. So, read, about, every club says they're the same shit. And he was just like, who are you, dude? So, I broke it down to him, and he was like, yo, this is very cool.
It is
very cool, man. And we're very impressed, and we're glad to see, that you guys are, just doing your thing, and conducting yourselves in a good way. So,
because I think that a lot of guys do want to join MC, but they don't want to be connected with any crazy stuff like robbing banks or whatever you think it is. And you are a new prototype. Actually, in 2006, you've been around 15 years. You're a prototype of a lot of guys who want to join. And with my club also, it's like, it was so funny how I found out about you. Is this one of my clients, and let me tell you what I do. I'm in the business, I have clients, and they're very conservative. He says, have you heard of Redrum? I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of read it. It's a 1%. He says, no, this is about 3 months ago. Right. I was like, really? And I did research, and I read, and I know what 1% will look like and act like. I can go through all the pictures. It'll be one dude in that something he will show me. You guys ain't it. You guys are some bunch of what you did was beautiful. A motorcycle MC club, First Nations, all these things. It's just beautiful what you guys done. And then and you have an amazing organization. I can't see it nowhere and growing. and you are a prototype for no motorcycle clubs and saying, this is what we do. We're about having fun. I see you started a female charter of women.
Yeah, because we
right?
got calls, you know, women were like, oh, you're all about like we have a t-shirt that says tolerance, you know,
Yeah.
and it has all the different religions in it. It says Redrum tolerance, you know. So these women were emailing going, tolerance, book tolerance my ass. You don't even let women in your club. And I was like, she's right. So then we started a sister club called Red Spirit.
Right.
You know, you know, a single patch kind of thing, just to get our sisters to ride with us, and you know, but the mother of our club, like our spiritual mothers of the club, are two elders, Auntie Pua, who is world renowned. She's the Kumu, which is like the leader, the elder of the Mauna Kea movement in Hawaii.
Right.
And then Auntie LaDonna, who is one of the people that, you know, started the whole Standing Rock thing. And so, you know, even though we are a men's club, we're led spiritually by women, by elders, you know, who make us accountable, you know. So I always, you know, got to remind guys, like when something, I'm like, yo, bro, like one of the dudes made his wife is a model, and he had this picture with his patches, and his wife super hot pictures with thongs on, and she's posing with him, and he's like, yo, can I post these pictures? And I'm like, well, what do you think Auntie Poole would think about the image of the club in that way? You know, he's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he thought about it, right?
It's like, we don't have to portray that image, man. You know, God bless your hot wife, bro. But
you know, he would put that on his own social media, not maybe yours.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, personally on his own. But you know, we have seven, I think 7 chapters in Canada right now, and actually,
I ran into those guys, and they're like beautiful. They were like the nicest, cool guys, and I didn't know what you guys were about, because I selfish, like I said, I have law enforcement in my club, and I have finance guys in my club, and I really can't shake hands, drink beer with dudes who doing that other stuff. But Canada's very small. We're the only black club here, and everybody's watching us. So when I met you guys, and I said, I remember in Peterborough, Ontario.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I ran into some guys. I said, hey, you guys come by and check us out. Come on, baby, we're having a picnic. And I had to think about it. And I got in the car and I go, I don't know, because I didn't know anything about you. Now that I know you, I'm going to invite them out to my office and have a barbecue. Now that I met you, then I really know what it's all about. You all have to be very careful. Now, 2 years, I'm going to go to this. You're the director of the Red Heart Native American. So what is that, if you mind me asking?
It's a Native Arts Council here in New York, which, you know, we present culture. So a lot of our members, you know, a lot of the members in the club are Native American artists, performers, dancers. One of the most famous Native artists in the world, his name is Dallin Maybe. He's actually Santa Fe Indian Market. He was one of the heads of that for like 10 years. Dallin is a member, famous Native artist. We have Native actors. A guy named Sam Bearpaw, who's a pretty well-known Native actor. He always plays Geronimo or like Cochise in those History Channel. Like he played Geronimo versus, I don't know, in that Versus show where they like what would happen in history if the two dudes would fight. He played him, so he's like a pretty well-known Native actor. And then we got the biggest indigenous actor in the world who's a member of the club. We don't really put it out that much, and you know, we'll probably do it in the right time. But Jason Momoa is a patch holder.
Right. He's in Toronto all the time making movies.
Yeah, he's in Toronto right now. He's been filming that show, and he put his patches on a full black bear.
Right. Wow.
A black bear vest, like a full hair out black bear vest, and then he has his cut in that. You know, I always goof on him. I spoke to him yesterday. I'm like, bro, you're a maniac, man. But you know, he just keeps it super real, and but he's an active, he's a member of the club, but he's involved, like he's done, we put him on duties, man, like nobody wears a cut in our club, and it's just for the sake of
Yeah, because you don't care who they are. They just like anybody else.
Listen, some of the members of the, we have old school guys who've been in the club a long time and first of all, don't even know who some of these dudes are, and nor do they give a shit. They're like, I don't care. Like,
But
they don't even watch TV. So,
it's, it seems
so
like
whenever someone
you started
gets
a whole social movement, not just Native community. The reason why I wanted to put you on that podcast because we have a big urban, like we have a huge urban audience, and I was so impressed with the thing is I try to get all my audience to look past color barriers or race or religion or I'm interviewing the Jewish guys, my Jewish guys next week. The Yids on Wheels. They're good friends of mine. I've known for a million years. And even though I'm a person of color in this podcast, it's an inclusion. I want everybody to learn more. That's why I call it Prospect Magazine, because I feel that we all prospects in life. I've been in the biker set for 40 years. All in all, I still don't feel like I know everything, and I'm no
right.
prophet. But the thing is, this is a learning tool, this podcast for everybody. I want them to know about you, research. Because the thing is, the way you've done things, the way you branded this whole thing is so spectacular. Everybody can learn something from you.
Sure. I mean, we wish that people, would understand, especially in this MC world, there's certain places that starting a charter, even with our thing, even with our history about who we are, there are places that we're still like up in the air dealing with dominant starting charters, and, just, and my philosophy is always, we're building a community, when you come into a place, so, I wish I could say there's one clear way to conduct this or do this, but there really isn't, man. There's no
blueprint for it.
Yeah, there's no code book, man.
There's no blueprint. It's kind of trial and error. But you do a little of your homework first before you even start it. Do a lot of your homework, and then what it is try to build good relationships with people. That way you don't have any problems with them, because problems is usually misunderstandings.
Yeah, man. Listen, I've sat in front of lots of the dominance and been in, waiting for a phone call to go into a clubhouse at 3 a.m. and some hairy situations, doing this like super, super hairy situations. And you never know how it's gonna, turn out, because what we wear, these MCs and clubs like yours and mine there are other dudes that this is I mean, it's always life threatening. You put that MC word on you, but there are guys that they have members of their ex-members of their clubs, of their chapter 13s, of dozens, sometimes up to 100 guys who gave their life in the history of their clubs for this thing, that have died for this thing. So, as much as you want to come in and I'm not saying you in general, but, us with this mindset and these Christian clubs and law enforcement clubs, and they all want to come in and sort of be like, hey, but you got to understand, you're going to sit and talk to some dudes that have lost 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 brothers in wars for this MC thing, and that's real talk. So, as much as you want to, and I want to sit there and sit in front of these guys and go, hey man, well, we're about peace and love, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you tell that to our brothers who ain't here no more because of this. So don't try and downplay any of this thing, and when you get approached like that, really, what can you say? Because it's real shit.
Right.
We talk about, our perspective on this and what we want to bring to this, but we can by no means disrespect or dishonor the hundreds, thousands of brothers who've died in this thing, since the 40s when guys were first doing this, and the times when, 5 guys with a patch would roll into town and they call the National Guard or something, they couldn't even sit in a diner because the cops would roll in like SWAT because 5 bikers rolled in. What we take for granted here, like we just started a chapter in Australia, man. That's a whole other
animal. Yeah. You got carpetbaggers up there, and you got like You got clubs up there, man. Them dudes, man, they're on a whole nother. First of all, Europe and Australia, MC World's a whole different ball game up there, and they ain't used to guys like you and me coming up there telling them we opening up something.
No, I mean in New Zealand and Australia, there are Aboriginal clubs, you know, but them dudes they're no joke, and they recognize what you're doing. But the fact of the matter is, you know, Australia and New Zealand are the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
they're America 30 years ago.
right.
You know, these guys, you know, you could still read about it and hear stories about cats you know, groups of guys rolling into towns and taking over the whole town like it's 1940.
Well, one of the guys in my club is dating a woman and she's native from New Zealand, and man, she's tough. Like she's beautiful as hell, but she's fucking tough, dude. Yeah. And I'm like, how the hell you get like that? She goes, I'm from New Zealand. You don't understand motorcycle club culture there. It's totally different over there. It's different.
Oh yeah, I mean our chapter in Australia. Yeah, I mean our guys in Australia, they you know, to be a member of the club, they have like a 3-day-a-week mandatory workout. They have to train like 3 days a week. These dudes, like they're like, this is no joke here, man. You know, we have to be healthy and fit. And I'm like, oh, look. I'm like, well, but yeah, you know, it's you know, Australia and you know, down under, as they say, man, it's a completely different.
So what was your secret? What was your secret for your growth? Like what did you do? I know a lot of outlaw clubs, they target the military, because a lot of veterans in America, they join a lot of outlaw clubs because they're still looking for their camaraderie and all that. So what was yours? Did you target a veteran?
We really don't target anybody, man. We just,
so
this is what we're about.
Bottom line, you just Native Americans doing something different and joining something positive.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people are attracted to, you know, the indigenous. Look, if you're in the Americas,
right.
In the Americas, from the tip of Alaska to Argentina, you know, if you're in the Americas, right, you're on indigenous land. End
right.
of story, right? And a lot of what, for instance, in America and Canada too, what a lot of people assume are American traditions or Canadian traditions are really Aboriginal traditions, man, that you know, we look at as from words that we use. So like how much more American can you get than being part of a Native club? Like even Harley Davidson's always putting you know, eagles with feathers, and I mean, I know they've cut back a lot now because, you know, there's this whole, you know, cultural appropriation talk. Who knows what Indian Motorcycle actually contacted me and sat down with me to talk with me about the perspective of Indian, the use of Indian as their mascot for their motorcycles, and how we felt and what. So I had this whole thing this summer with Indian Motorcycle. It was pretty funny.
They write you a check?
No, I told them I want to challenge. I told them I want a challenger, man. So we'll see what happens. But even they're like talking about this is part of a conversation. So, you know, there really wasn't any. It's just what we do, what we're about, and a lot of guys are, you know, sort of interested. It was like that first phone call I got from Jason Momoa. You know, like I was on the phone with him for an hour. He asked me 50,000 questions. You know, like, what's the club about? What do you do with this, that? I mean, the guy's a biker, man. He knows he's in a similar situation where, you know, tons of clubs have asked him, and he's been riding motorcycles his whole life.
He's got a bunch of beautiful vintage bikes.
Yeah, and he rides them things, man. He actually has his bikes in Toronto. You guys don't even know, but he's been buzzing around Toronto with a full face on.
You know, the thing is, it's funny. We have a part of Toronto called Kensington Market, and it's this bar my buddy's own. It's called Ronnie's, and it's in Kensington Market. And he's always there. And you know, Toronto's like, we have a lot of movie stars here, so nobody really bothers anybody. It's just like that.
Yeah, New York is the same way. LA, they bother them all the time.
Yeah.
New York, nobody gives a shit. Whatever, dude. Like,
so I'm gonna ask you a question, Chris. What legacy did you think you want to leave? Because I'm gonna tell you something. You know, all the great guys from the 40s, 50s, 60s. You know, your name's gonna be on their list, right? 20, 30 years, they're gonna be talking about your ass in a good way. That you led what you've done, because you've done something that was beautiful. is different. I can tell you're a Renaissance man like me. I like doing shit differently, right? And I can tell that. So one day, everybody's gonna be talking about you. There'll be plaques go up. Little kids are talking about, but Chris Matias, and he started when he started. How do you want to leave a legacy?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't even have a moment to, because with leadership comes service. So, I never look at myself as like, I'm the leader, I'm running this shit, I created this shit. It's always for me like service, which is constant. How can I serve you? So members of my club, I don't look at them like, that I'm in charge. I look at it more as like, how can I serve you?
Right.
Because a true leader is just a servant of his members, and so I don't really think about I hope I can't fathom the idea of cats mentioning my name in 20 or 30 years.
They will.
Yeah. It's like that scene. I always think of that scene which motivates me in life to do things, because there's a scene in Troy, right, where Brad Pitt is getting ready, and this little boy comes up and says, the man you're gonna fight is a giant, and he goes, I would never want to fight him. And then Brad Pitt, turns to the boy and goes, that's why no one will ever say your name. No one will ever say your name. When you're dead, no one will say your name. So, when we're not afraid to venture out and do our thing, like you're over there, starting your club, doing this podcast, reaching out, extending yourself in this way of service, I just think we can't be motivated by anything other than serving, and that's it, and what comes later on, if I'll be dead, so I won't hear about it anyway. So,
but I don't know if you have kids, your kids will be talking about it, your grandkids will be talking.
Yeah, my kid, my youngest was prospecting for a minute, and he was like, "Man, I ain't trying to hang out with some old dudes, bro." But
he said, "My kids don't even like motorcycles." I grew up with motorcycles. My brothers, my dad, all of this. My sons don't like motorcycles. I don't know what that's all about.
That's the new. Listen, that is that's Harley Davidson's dilemma right now, right? Nobody's buying motorcycles. Nobody, the women are the ones jumping on bikes. The new market is women. So that's it.
That's a whole new social network too for them, because they can, meet somebody and go ride with and meet a friend, and that's about it. But hey, Chris, I'm gonna let you go. I know it's a Saturday and you got your family, and I thank you so much.
No, thank you, man. Keep up the good work. I look forward. Yeah, I look forward to coming to Canada and riding with your brothers.
Well, you better come up and visit us, man. You come to Peterborough, come by our clubhouse. We don't have a per se clubhouse like with stripper poles and shit. We got like classrooms. It's really funny because people come and go, you got like classrooms in here. Yeah, I have classrooms. We have pool tables. We have things where people bring their kids. We have a program that we're working on, of single moms dropping off their young boys that's 13, 14 years old. And we try to scare them straight, tell them a better life. They look in the garage and see all these really expensive motorcycles, and they say, how'd you get that? We teach them hard work,
good.
Love your mom, take care of your mom, take care of your little sister. They don't have fathers at home. Nobody tells them that. So we try to do that. So definitely.
That's good work, man. That's really good to hear, man. I hate clubhouses.
I don't have a clubhouse. Like, people text me, hey, man, you got a clubhouse? I go, not like you think.
Well, our guys in Peterborough don't have one either. They, we ride motorcycle. You can't get in any trouble when you're riding your bike, man.
Exactly.
It's when you're hanging around when everything pops off, when you're riding your bike and doing what we're supposed to do, and working hard and creating venues for kids to come, and like what you're doing, there's no trouble in that, Yeah,
all that in clubhouses a million times. My good friend Toby Jean from Dragons, he told me, he says, do not open a clubhouse. I said, well, I have an office. And we have a home we purchased, and it's our office, and we have classrooms in it. He said, because clubhouses are one of the biggest mistakes a lot of clubs have, because nothing but bullshit going on when you're not around. And I thought about that, and I said, I think he's right. But anyway, Chris, I'm gonna let you go, brother.
All right, my brother. Nice much love, man.
And we'll talk to you again, okay?
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you, bro.
Ciao. Have a good day.
All right, peace.
Hi, this is KROME, and this is Prospect Magazine TV. I enjoy talking to that brother, man, because you know what? I learn something every day. And this is the reason why we call it the Prospect Magazine, because we're all prospects of life. He has an amazing club upstairs, and he's a guy from Brooklyn, New York. And his native whole MC thing, Redrum, it's a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of people can take, check out their website, Redrum MC, and you'll be impressed by the way these brothers do things. And they're growing. They've been around since 2006. They're steady growing. And now I'm a fan of theirs. So I just want to say, hey, good night and good evening. And this is KROME from Prospect Magazine TV. And look forward to our next show we're going to have. We're doing a tribute, a Black tribute month to Harley Davidson Motorcycle Club and Harley Davidson Motorcycle Company. And we have 2 members that are ride with me. One of my members in my club is a mechanic there. He'll give you some insight on it. And that's about it. Hey, so take care. Happy Saturday, and talk to you again. Ciao.